Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the third film in the Avatar franchise. Avatar, Fire and Ash. This go around, once again, we get James Cameron writing and directing this film that brings us back to the world of Pandora or the moon or wherever they are. It's somewhere out there where Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Sigourney Weaver, all of them are in motion caption suits, giving us this beautiful, beautiful world to gawk at. This go around, Avatar Fire and Ash picks up right after Avatar The Way of Water, where the Sully family is gripping with the grief of the death of their son and brother. And they encounter a new and aggressive tribe, the Ash people, who are led by a fiery, no pun intended, new villain, Varang, as the conflict on Pandora escalates and a new moral focus emerge. Like I said, this is the third film in the franchise. I'm a big fan of the first film. Loved it. Absolutely loved it for what it accomplished, telling this story through the eyes of, I guess is what people describe it as, dancing with wolves, just with 8 feet tall blue aliens. And it's pretty much the same story, nothing original there. But what you went to go see that movie for was the visual spectacle that it was, and it was stunning. And so when The Way of Water came out a couple of years ago, pretty much the same thing. And you went to see this new spectacle, and it took the world to a whole new level with the water creatures and the water tribe and whatnot. Beautiful. I didn't enjoy The Way of Water as much as I enjoyed the first one, especially on rewatch. When I saw it in the theater when it came out, I was like, oh, this is fine. It's up there with the first Avatar film, but watching it, at home and whatnot, it just didn't have that same pop. It just didn't quite get there. Never, I would never classify it as bad or anything. It just didn't have the same fire as the first film. And so we get around to Fire and Ash, and to be 100% honest with you, I wasn't super looking forward to Avatar Fire and Ash, even though I was excited to a degree because watch the first film. I'm kind of invested in this franchise. I'm invested in the story. I'm invested in the characters of Jake and this world, this new world. What more can we explore on Pandora? So I was excited in that sense. Is the story going to heighten? No, no. Avatar Fire and Ash is not. It just didn't get there for me. I was in, and then I got brought down, and then I got in a little bit more, but by the end of it, I came to the conclusion that I think we have milked this Avatar world dry. it's I'm good. I'm good. I have no need to go back to the world of Pandora. And the movie wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Pretty much on the same wavelength. Once again, no pun intended, of The Way of Water, but it just felt like a rehash of the second film, just with a couple of more characters added along that didn't really need to be in the movie. It was just there to be there, storylines that were there to be there. It got too mystical for me, not the rapper, but it just got too fantastical, and that's saying a lot, being as though this is a science fiction film. but it was just too fantastical. You know, you had characters that all of a sudden they're superheroes. All you know, they can talk to God and AY and the mother and summon the powers of Pandora, and it's like where are we going with this franchise? It just took a hard left, and I was left scratching my head like, okay, I was good when it was grounded in the first film, and I know we're talking about a man that puts his conscience in this avatar alien. Yeah, but it was still grounded. Now we just going way fantastical, and it just I couldn't connect with it. And another reason I couldn't connect with it, all of the human characters were when they were on screen, just it was nothing to connect there. You could connect in that first film because you had Sam Worthington along with his avatar, but you had the actor that you can connect with his story and whatnot, and Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver and Joel. What's his name? Joel David Mars and Moore, and you had characters that were human in the film that you can connect with, but as we travel along this Avatar trail, the human characters take a back seat, even though they're the villains. Every human character, with the exception of one, is a villain in this movie, and so you really couldn't connect with the characters, and I just could not get on board anymore. I don't even see Jake Sully no more. I just see another blue alien. You know, James Cameron. What can I say about James Cameron? James Cameron is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I mean, that's like saying water's wet, but yes, he's one of the greatest of all time. The man makes nothing but blockbusters. I don't think he's ever made a film that flopped or didn't make his money back. I think his least performing film that he directed was True Lies, and it still made money. It was a big hit, but it wasn't a monster hit like his other films, Terminator and Aliens and so on and so forth, Titanic and movies of that ilk. But he makes billion-dollar grossing film, billion with a B. So he is one of the greats, and when it comes to action, he's one of the greatest. The action in here was fine, nothing earth-shattering, nothing that we haven't seen before in this franchise. And with 3 films in, we need to heighten it up a little bit more, especially when you introduce a new villain or a new antagonist. I want to see a little bit more, but we didn't. It was a great introduction to that character, who's played by what's her name, Ona Chaplin. And when you hear Chaplin, you're like, oh man, I wonder if she's related to Charlie Chaplin. She is. She's the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin, and and she is the villain in this film. In her introduction in this movie, actually, she was probably the best part of the film. The scenes that she had, I'm like, oh man, she is a beast. I loved her character. Loved the performance. And she had this sexy, venomous vibe to her, but she wasn't so much of a villain as she was an anti-hero. She's just a victim of circumstance, and is making the best out of what she has and her people have, the Ash people. And I connected with her character. I'll say that much, because I can see her motivations, and what she stood for and why she did what she did. I'm not saying what she did was right. She is a villain, but I get it. And I liked her introduction, her story, but all of a sudden it was like poof. She was gone. It was like there was no adding to it. Now, James Cameron has promised like 3 more films in this franchise, God help us. And so possibly we'll get a little bit more of her character in future films, but I wanted to see it in this one, I wanted it wrapped up. and nothing was really wrapped up for me there. And now, before I get to my biggest gripe about this movie, I will give some positives because I've been trilling on for about a minute and 10 minutes about what I didn't like. But I'll tell you what I did like about the movie. Number one, I did mention one. Ona Chaplin, she was great. I liked her in this film. I liked the visuals, of course. I mean, that didn't change. They didn't skip on the special effects budgets. It still looks amazing. It is amazing. Some of the shots in this film were just absolutely. You could have paused it, took a picture, printed it out, and framed it on your wall. It's that beautiful. It was some beautiful looking landscapes throughout this film. That I wasn't doubting that. None of that surprised me, but it definitely was beautiful to look at. And that's about it for me. That's about it for the positives of this movie. My biggest negative, well, I'm gonna leave you in suspense for a little while longer because I just thought about another negative. I talked about the visuals. Some of the visuals, I don't know if it was my screening or I don't know. Maybe it's my eyesight, but a couple of shots talking about the Navi, it didn't look right in the movie. It looked like CG, and I know it is CG, but in the previous two films, it looked flawless. But in this movie, just in a few shots, it wasn't like a 30-minute run where it just looked cheap. It was like quick shots where I just looked at like mouth movements and stuff like that, and I was like, that didn't look right. It just didn't look right on that character. But now I'm just nitpicking. But here's something that I'm not nitpicking. This freaking movie was 3 hours and 15 minutes for no reason at all. Why was this movie 3 hours and 15 minutes? I promise you, you cut 45 minutes out this movie and it would be awesome. It would have been great. I'm sitting there, and this is while the movie's going. I'm like, we didn't need that scene. We could have shortened that scene. Oh, we really didn't need this character in here. The movie's still going. And at that point, I'm like an hour or an hour and a half in. I'm like, but we don't need all this. Why is all this in here? Now, is it possible setup for future films? Probably. But at this point, I don't even want to see future films. It feels like I've seen 3 movies. And this movie was 3 hours long. Was there action throughout? Yes, they had it started off with some with a nice action scene. They had an action scene in the middle, then the big climax at the end. Yes, there was action throughout the movie, but it was boring. This movie was boring. You felt all 3 hours and 15 minutes. At no point did I say, "Oh man, this movie's flying by." Never. If I felt like I wasted an entire day watching this movie. It truly was a task. I don't know why this movie had to be this long. This was so unnecessary. I complain about movies length all the time on this show. Some movie, if you shave 5 minutes here or shave 10 minutes here, probably could have flowed a little better, could have paced it just a little bit better, you know. But this, you could have cut this movie in half. He could have made this a 2-parter, you know, go Kill Bill style. And it would have been a little bit better. I think I would have digested it a little better. But having to sit there for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Let me tell you a story. My wife, she wanted to go see Kill Bill last week. The full movie, you know, Quentin Tarantino, he released it like he initially intended. In case you didn't know, both part one and part two together as one movie because his intentions were one movie. And so it was released, and it was 4 hours. And they had an intermission in it, but I just couldn't do it. And my rationale to it was what I told her, and she went and saw it, and she was excited, because she loved the movie, and I love the movie. I love both of them. Well, one of them now, but I love Kill Bill. But she was super excited. But the reason I told her I couldn't go, because I said, look, next week is Avatar. And that movie's 3 hours long. I can't picture myself going to see a 4-hour long movie and then double back and see a 3-hour long movie. My life, as much as I love movies, I watch movies all day, ironically enough. But the key word in that was movies. I don't want to watch one movie an entire day. And so I was like, nah, I can't picture myself sitting down for 4 hours to watch that. And so she went alone. After watching this movie, I felt so bad because I should have went and saw Kill Bill last week with my wife, who invited me to go for an impromptu date night. And I said, no, I feel less than a husband because I was saving my butt for this sitting to watch this movie. And I feel like I got the short end of the stick. Yeah, Avatar, Fire and Ash did not hit for me. And I wanted it to. I really did want it to. But, I'm not super disappointed because I wasn't really expecting much from it. The promotions leading up to it didn't really catch me, didn't hook me. And so I really didn't have much to look forward to. So it was nowhere to go but up. And ultimately, this is how I went in with it, is how I left out with it. Man. Yeah, I think James Cameron needs to do something else. He's been in the Pandora world way too long. What has it been, about 20 years he's been doing Avatar movies? It's time to move on. Let's do something else. Go make another Terminator and go make another Alien film. I would love that. Do something else. Because I think this is it. I think this is it for Avatar. Of course it's gonna make his money. I'm not knocking it for that. It is watchable. I know this is a doom and gloom review, but it is watchable. It's not a horrible movie. In no shape, form, or fashion will this make the worst movie of the year list. This was all right. But when you spend $400 million on a movie, it needs to be better than all right. And you asking people to sit down for 3 hours and 15 minutes. It needs to be better than all right. So Avatar, Fire and Ash, the third film in the franchise, gets a letter grade of a C. Yeah, man. Yeah. Little let down on that one. But that's one man's opinion. How did you feel about Avatar, Fire and Ash? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it's just as good as the other two? Or do you think James Cameron did a rare, and I mean rare, misfire on this film? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. While you're searching, go on YouTube, search for the KB Radio Network channel, and subscribe and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Avatar, Fire and Ash. And I think, I could be wrong, I think this is the last one of the year. No. I think I have another one next week before we get to the new year. But this is my last review before Christmas. So to all of you out there, have a Merry Christmas. I hope Santa have you on his nice list. I was about to say naughty. But I hope everybody is on the nice list. Get what they want. Won't find a lump of coal in their stocking. So Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everybody, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.